This is Ned Pierce from the 1st Brigade Band. He's a historian with the band. Could you tell us how the band got started?
The band was formed in 1964 in response to a request from Galena, Illinois, which is the hometown of Ulysses S. Grant. They wanted to get a musical group together to play some original Civil War music, and there were some collectors that were known in Milwaukee that had original Civil War band instruments, and they got a pickup band together to go to Galena for the centennial occasion of the return of General Grant. This little pickup band was so successful that it was decided to bring the same group back the following year. And again, it was met with tremendous success, so it was decided to create an organization that would be an ongoing organization to continue the real fine heritage of brass bands during the Civil War.
Now, you folks have probably noticed already that the horns in this here band are a bit different than what you're used to seeing with maybe your school bands or hometown bands. Let me just briefly describe to you the makeup and composition of an Army band serving, whether it be north or south. First of all, these here bands are just a whole bunch smaller. Up here in the north, our bands run between 18 to 24 players, and they're mostly brass with percussion and maybe a woodwind thrown in to help out. And down south, of course, some of those bands with the Reb Army, they're a whole bunch smaller. Some of them run 6/8 pieces because of their manpower shortage. Well, first of all, let's start here with the E-flat cornets. This is quite a critter to play, and you need iron lips and iron lungs to handle this varmint because it has the melody 99% of the time, and it's got what the city folks call their back pressure. See, that makes it hard to blow, you see, and so that's quite an instrument to tame, let me tell you. Then we have our woodwind, the piccolo, and that's the easiest of the woodwinds to maintain in the field because it has only keys and levers, you see. You don't have to go out looking for those fancy reeds. So we have the piccolo as our woodwind. Then we have the B-flat cornets. And this is probably the closest that we come here to the kind of cornets that you folks are used to seeing. They're B-flat in pitch, and we have all styles and configurations. Now, these instruments play the melody sometime, but they also harmonize in the upper register. And that's the B-flat cornet section. Then we have, my favorite section today at least, the E-flat alto horns. And having an alto horn in the band, that's like these fancy folks in the city bands that have these French horns. Only the alto horn is just a whole lot sweeter to play and has a real fine tone and plays the melody about half the time right along with the E-flat cornets and then helps out with the harmony too. Then we have the B-flat tenors and basses. This is like having trombones and baritones in the band. These horns fill out the harmonies on the bottom part of the arrangements and have some real fine sounds down there. Then we have the E-flat tuba section. And I'm going to ask them to demonstrate in particular the over-the-shoulder configuration. This is the characteristic horn of the Great War. Of course, there were all kinds, bell front, upright, and so on. But the over-the-shoulder is characteristic of this here war because, well, it was designed for use in a marching band that would go up in front of a column of troops, you see. Well, that made sense. You wanted the music to go back over your shoulder to the fellas that were marching behind the band, not down the road, those Rebs down there waiting to take a shot at you. So you had the over-the-shoulder configuration. And then, of course, we have our percussion section. Oh, there they are. And they're drums that are wooden-rimmed with animal hide calfskin drum heads that are pulled tight with rope and leather right around those wooden shells, you see. And that's real fine. That's what gives that percussion section the characteristic sound that you hear. That's somewhat different from the fancy modern drums that you hear today. But of course, when it starts to rain and all that moisture gets in those drum heads, pretty soon it starts to sound like you're beating on a wet cardboard box, is what it does. So the drummers always pray for dry weather. So there you have the typical instrumentation and makeup of a Civil War brass band serving in the field, whether it be both north or, oh, wait a minute, I almost forgot. You got to have a bandmaster for a band like this, fellow to stand up in front of the band, tell them when it's time to play, and tell them what to play, get them to play loud, soft, fast, slow, get them to play it all sometimes, let me tell you. The bandmaster of the 1st Brigade Band, Mr. Dan Wolpert. Well, now, like I mentioned, there are some real colorful units come into Camp Randall in Madison. And one of the most colorful comes from up around the Eau Claire area, the 8th Wisconsin. Maybe some of you folks have seen that outfit. They come in with the darndest mascot. They had with them a pet baby eagle. And they carried that eagle, right here with the national colors, you see. You got the national colors and the regimental colors, and then they had Old Abe carried, well, on sort of a stick like this, on a perch. Only on top was the perch for the eagle, and just below the perch was a round Union shield, and that was sort of to protect the eagle bearer from the hazards of eagle duty, you see. And they brought this critter right into battle. They carried it right into the fighting in western Tennessee and on into the state of Mississippi, particularly at the siege of Vicksburg, where, as you can well imagine, an eagle like that, being a real fierce symbol of the Union at war here, got to be a real favorite target of the Confederate sharpshooters. And finally it was decided to send Old Abe back to Madison, Wisconsin, and use him for recruiting purposes, you see, kind of get him out of harm's way there. But in the meantime, Old Abe became a real legend here with our Wisconsin boys, serving in the Western Theater. And I'll never forget that the story of the first day when Old Abe came into Camp Randall. I wasn't there myself, but folks tell me that when the regiment came through the gate, the flag was flying, and they had Old Abe right there, and he sort of took off at the length of this tether that they had him attached to this pole with, and he circled round and round the flag as they came in through the gate, and then he swooped down and picked up, well, the opposite end of that there flag, and swooped out with it to its full length, just the very image of what this here war is all about. So along about the middle of the war, this here song was written about Old Abe, the Battle Eagle. The ranks were full and they hurried away, the drums rolling gaily, the bugles a-play. A cloud that was dark with the anger of God, when the western wind blew and the storm was abroad. And over its front in the threatening sky, there hovered the eagle of victory. And over its front in the threatening sky, there hovered the eagle of victory. Hurrah for our eagle, our bold battle eagle, the terror of traitors, the king of the sky. Hurrah for our eagle, our bold battle eagle, the terror of traitors, the king of the sky. His nostrils have scented the sulphurous breath, the boiling cauldron of battle and death. His broad wings spread in the wavering fight, and his screams rang out with a fierce delight. When ranks of the traitors were turned to fly like fabled trumpets of victory. When ranks of the traitors were turned to fly like fabled trumpets of victory. Hurrah for our eagle, our bold battle eagle, the terror of traitors, the king of the sky. Hurrah for our eagle, our bold battle eagle, the terror of traitors, the king of the sky. Ladies and gentlemen, our narrator and chief historian, even though he doesn't have any respect for his elders, give another big hand to Mr. Ed Pierce.